You're listening to Taking It to the Top, a podcast by the Andorra Sports Innovation Hub. Created to ignite discussions and comment on the latest trends and breakthroughs in the sports industry, featuring a diverse lineup of local and global guests, innovative startups, industry experts, research authorities, opinion leaders, and even elite athletes. Whether you're an industry expert or a passionate enthusiast, our aim is to bring you thought-provoking, dynamic, and entertaining conversations. Welcome to this exciting journey. Let's take it to the top.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Taking It to the Top, TITT for short, a podcast on sport business and innovation by Andorra Research and Innovation and Andorra Business. I'm Josefina Brugnini, consultant at SPSG Consulting, and I'll be your host today. So we have a really exciting topic ahead, the process of going from ideation, that initial spark an idea, to innovation. And we've got a very interesting and experienced roster of guests that'll be taking us through the creative process into prototyping, researching, and testing their innovations in the sports industry, as well as covering some of the most common challenges one might encounter when attempting to innovate. Before introducing our guests, I'd first like to welcome someone who represents a leading entity in the field, Aurora Crespo, head of the Innovation Agency at Andorra Research and Innovation, a private foundation in the public sphere whose mission is to generate knowledge and develop innovative solutions to address current and future challenges, both in Andorra and abroad. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, Josefina. How are you? Thank you very much for all this presentation. So yes, I'm Aurora. I'm representing Andorra Research and Innovation, but we are developing this project also with Andorra Business. We are the two agencies promoting all the entrepreneurship and innovation here in our country. So our foundation on the research and innovation, we have a lot of different projects. We are more or less 50 people working in different projects. So here we are representing the innovation part. So the startups that we have today, I really love that they can be here because they are part of our living lab. We have been collaborating with them with a lot of different projects between different partners of our country. So it's really good and it's really interesting that our country, day by day, we are improving all the innovation world and we are opening all the windows from our companies, from our entities and from our sectors.
Exciting future ahead, definitely. Tell me a little bit more about the Living Lab.
So, Andorra Living Lab, it's one of our main projects that we have nowadays. It's a really strategic project because it's the first living lab at a country scale. We are certificated by ENOL, the European Network of Living Labs, and it's give us a really good point and really good position in a worldwide recognition. So we are trying that the startups can do all the testing, all the co-creation and all the development here in our country.
And I'm sure it's going to be very applicable to the conversation we're going to have ahead. Our guests today lead projects, now businesses, that are well versed in the topic at hand. Anton Borrell, marketing manager at Onalabs InnoHub, a company that develops non-invasive, wearable biomarker measurement products. They can measure continuously physiologic parameters through sweat, with products targeted at a wide variety of specific patient needs. Diabetes control, general health monitoring, sports monitoring, neonate health. Welcome, Anton. Great to have you here.
Hello, Josefina. Thank you very much for the presentation and looking forward to see how this podcast goes.
We also have llobet, co-founder and chief technology officer at Evix. Evix want to be catalyzers of a safer, healthier, and more sustainable mobility model by integrating an airbag into their cycling helmets. It inflates around the back of the neck and part of the upper back before the cyclist even reaches the ground on a fall, reducing risk of cervical injury. They also offer a multifunctional app that, among other aspects, sends an SOS signal if you get in a cycling accident. Welcome, Lucas.
Hello, thanks for having us here.
It's a pleasure. And finally, last but not least, Mateusz Delikat, founder and CEO at Qlac, a company that aims to measure amateur and professional athlete parameters related to muscular effort non-invasively as well, with a watch-sized wearable sensor on the upper thigh. It uses near-infrared spectroscopy to measure the ratio of oxygen supply and consumption by muscles, also known as STO2, which is much more easy to pronounce than what we've been saying so far, and a lactic acid concentration in muscles as well. Thank you for being here, Mateusz. Pleasure to have you here.
Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for really complete introduction, let's say, Josefina. It's really complete.
Thank you very much for the compliment. So I really wanted to dive in and take our listeners to the top first and asking you about where it all begins, this initial idea. How did the initial spark, Mateusz, for your innovative project first occur?
So I've been playing football for more than 20 years. I've been lucky to be part of Academy of Legia Warszawa. Legia Warszawa is the club from the Warsaw. It's the biggest club in Poland, and I've been able to be part of the academy for the more than 6 years. And many times we've been tested to analyze the concentration of lactic acid during our training, to choose the correct intensity of training, to analyze our progress, if we do a progress or if we do a regress, according to endurance capabilities. And I saw how big issue, how with many problems it makes to make the measurements, how difficult it was for our coaches. And this is why I was thinking about it, how it's possible to improve it, how it's possible to make it easier to measure it on a daily basis. And this is why after more than 10 years later, when I finished playing football, I decided to start Qlac, just to figure out how it's possible to measure lactic acid without need of pricking, without need of taking a blood sample. And thanks to cooperation with some Polish institutions and with some researchers, we've been able to find a method to analyze lactic acid using only infrared light that does not require pricking, that is continuous measurements of these parameters, that is much easier to measure on a daily basis, comparing with the traditional method from the blood.
Very, very interesting, especially given that your athletic background sparked that curiosity. Lucas, was your spark similar in nature? Is there a background behind, or an athletic background behind your idea or your spark?
Not at all. Actually, there is always a long and short history, but the three co-founders of Evix, Mark, Neil, and me, are all of us are amateur bike riding. So we are not athletes, at least, but as we try to do our best. And as a bike riders, we are concerned about safety on bike environment and mobility areas also. So yeah, we get also some previous project from a familiar of one of our founders that just put us on the line on improve a helmet's safety, and that just bring us here.
That's actually very, very intriguing to hear. So it was someone else who actually took you on the right path to get the idea into fruition, basically?
Well, actually, it was a previous project that it's really not related on us, but it's the seed that just starting to grow in one of us, and he just tried to get that idea and to pivot that idea on bike industry, and that's how the first seed or the first idea starts. But then our project is quite different than the other one.
And Anton, were you the amateur? Were you the professional? Did you have someone else who inspired you to start or to give you that spark to begin developing your project?
Yeah, so Onalabs has a very particular story, as well as beautiful. It all started with one of our co-founders, which is Xavi Muñoz. And some years ago, he had a premature baby. So once he was at the hospital, he saw how and the nurses were taking blood samples from her. And there he realized that in the healthcare sector there was a need, a very specific need, which was to monitor different biomarkers and vital signs in a non-invasive way. So this is because he was seeing his daughter like he was with the punctures and everything, and said, okay, we need to do something to empower patients and take all these monitoring of the health in a non-invasive and in a continuous way, as well as accurate on the data.
Empower is a very interesting word, especially given the wide array of products you're currently now offering that I'd really like to explore a bit later on with you. Now that we're moving on to the next question, which actually applies quite well to what you've just mentioned, because once the idea is born, the first iteration and even the second and the third one is almost always never the one we launch, not even the minimum viable product. So once the idea is born, so once Onalabs is born with the concept of seeing how neonates are treated in a very invasive way despite their fragility, how did your team go about refining and shaping Onalabs and what it has become today?
Okay, so as I said, everything started in a hospital with Xavi and his daughter. So from here, he realized that there was the need to investigate how to monitor a biofluid and to be able to detect some biomarkers. So they started a university research project, which was in the UPC, and there were 2 or 3 years that they were looking how to develop this technology. And then this project had a spin-off and converted itself into an enterprise, a startup. So here at the beginning, they were focusing everything onto the premature babies market, but soon they realized that there was not a lot of money in this market because there's not a lot of premature babies. So the possibilities of being funded by investors were quite low, and in some developments it is very important to have funds. So here's where everything pivoted to more the healthcare market in general, and not only developing products for a specific use case, but and a niche. It's more about developing a product that can bring value to a whole sector or to a whole market.
That makes total sense. And Mateusz, was your timeline similar? Did you also support yourself with academic institutions like universities, colleges, or did you go another way for that first prototype to be born?
Yes, we've been cooperating with some institution. The one of the institution was also here from Warsaw, that helps us to find the most efficient method to analyze lactic acid, because we've been thinking if we will be able to analyze directly concentration of lactic acid, how does it change? Or maybe the same effective but much easier will be implemented method by measuring another parameters but highly correlated with lactic acid. And finally we found the correct method, the most effective method that we are using today, that finally we are able to measure changes of muscle oxygenation. But muscle oxygenation is really highly correlated with concentration of lactic acid. And if we are able to analyze the changes of muscle oxygenation, we have tested more than 1,000 players, and we have created an innovative algorithm just to indicate the 4 zones that indicate us changes of concentration of lactic acid. So directly we are measuring changes of muscle oxygenation, but thanks to this information we are able to calculate and to indicate concentration of lactic acid in your blood, in your tissue.
That's very interesting. So there were a few versions, and the final testing, or one of the final testing phases with the 1,000 athletes, helped you actually realize how accurate the system was. In that same line, Lucas, I'm sure you can tell us a bit about the prototype and the testing phase, because you've been drawing a lot from Andorra in that sense, especially from Andorra Research and Innovation. How has Andorra helped you in that testing process, and what else have you done to bring your first iteration into a viable product that can now be sold?
Yeah, actually, we define ourselves as a hardware startup, which is not that common, and sometimes we struggle a lot on get funds for that case because it means long term startup stay. But as a hardware, we need to do a lot of prototypes, no, and as we need to detect an accident and we need to inflate an airbag and we need to place all that technology into a helmet, there is different steps or different parts of the technology that we start to develop apart, and then we try to put jointly into a helmet. So what we did with Andorra, and we're still working with them and really help us, because on the algorithm or detection, crash detection algorithm, it's something that we are developing ourselves, being helped by intelligent artificial and all that things that everyone is starting to talking now, but they are really common on algorithm development. And yeah, thanks of Andorra, we are able to test our crash detection algorithm with some riders there, and just also help us on collecting more data, because as always, more data means better algorithm. And regarding to start as a startup and get some prototypes, we struggle a lot on having funds on it, so we look for private equity investors. I think no one told that in that meeting, but it's one of the reality for some startups, and that really led us to do some prototypes of the gas generator and the airbag inflation system that really help us to prove that it's feasible to make an airbag and inflate an airbag in 100 milliseconds, which is too fast. And that means that our technology really can do what we are trying to do. So now we are more facing on industrialization.
That's great news to hear, especially once you enter this cycle of wanting to develop something and show it works, but also needing the funds for that and wanting more funds so you can expand further. It's great to hear that you're actually looking at a more optimistic or with a more optimistic outlook towards the future. And Anton, I know that you've also been working with Andorra on Onalabs products. What exactly have you been testing, or what specific products have you been testing at Andorra and with Andorra Research and Innovation?
Yeah, so Onalabs is it's an enterprise from Barcelona, but we are also in Andorra. So here's where Andorra Research and Innovation enters. So what we are doing in Andorra is making the pilot test of our product dedicated to the sports performance optimization. So Ari is helping us a lot into making contacts with different key players. They are helping us doing the different pilot tests. We've been in the CTO, we've been in contact with different sports federations. So at the end, they are helping us a lot to develop faster and in an easier way our technology, because you said that later we were going to talk about this, but also the user experience evaluation and the feedback that you can take from from potential users. This is one of the things that we are doing in Andorra, and that is helping a lot us on this.
Good news is we're going very soon into that area, because it's very interesting for startups or potential innovators that are looking into starting up something that requires development and testing. Knowing how to incorporate and what feedback to incorporate from the general public or clinical trials is very interesting and enriching, and it's often not really talked about. So before moving into that area, I'd first like to touch upon the balancing of creativity and feasibility, because you're dreaming of products that haven't actually existed up until you developed them. How did you start dreaming big and decided that you had to maybe land a bit or have your feet on the ground with your project? Mateusz, I'm sure that you can tell us quite a bit about this, because your product size and weight is something that you're always looking to improve on. So how did you decide to stop on the version that you're at now?
So actually, this decision to enter the market comes from our client and partners, because they tell us that the current version of the sensor is really valuable. The size is okay for them. So still we are working on the device, referring to the size, referring to added some new parameters coming also from the same method of measurements, because we are able to do this. So in general, we are always trying to improve something, but right now the current version of the sensor is completely is fully able to use and to get some additional value thanks to measurements that we are able to do just on a daily basis. Yes, let's say.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending cycle because there's always something that one can improve. Lucas, in your case, is it of a similar nature? How did you come to decide that the product that you are testing now and that you're working on now is good enough, and maybe reeling it back a little bit and trying to work with what you've got at the moment is enough?
Yeah, actually, as a technician, is always a difficult answer on that topic, and we have many discussions in the team just for that, because I really understood and working in Evix how kind of a cycling life cycle about get found, develop some technology, but you need more money, so you need to prove some commercial viability to get more to get found more, no? So yeah, we need to have clear some basics to achieve, and then just move anytime from that basis. We are a B2B business, or we are having a B2B business, so we need to understand better what the companies or the helmet manufacturers or helmet brands are going to pay for, and then just do the minimum they're gonna pay for, and then try to improve version by version.
It makes sense. Is there any creative concept that you're able to tell us right now that you'd like to see implemented into the Evix helmet or the Evix software or hardware?
Yeah, actually, we always say that jointly with an Evix safety helmet will came with an app for the rider, and with that app you can get more functionalities, as for example a source call, as you were telling at the beginning, or just an advice that you are riding through a black spot that we call, and maybe that functionalities are not the first things to come.
It makes sense, especially when you have to integrate them into the hardware as well. And in your case, Anton, how have you managed to decide what sectors to go into, or maybe where to stop on the design and process to begin to commercialize Onalabs products as they are?
So, as I said, everything started with the premature babies sector. Then we pivoted more to the medical sector, but here we encountered a very big barrier, which was that the medical market, because of its characteristics, has very high entry barriers, such as, for example, the certification processes going with new technologies into the healthcare market, you need to pass a lot of regulations, a lot of quality system processes, so it was a hard task to do. And as Lucas said, that we needed to sell in order to demonstrate that there was an existing demand in the market, and then get funded a little bit more. Here's where one person appeared, which is what Daniel Brotons is, a very renowned doctor in Catalonia in sports medicine, and he told us, why don't you develop with the same technology that you have to monitor biomarkers in the healthcare system, you do the same but focusing on optimizing sport performances. So here he was the one who told us you need to monitor lactate, you need to monitor dehydration. So here it really changed our mind that we were focusing only on the medical market, and then we saw an opportunity of selling and starting commercialization with the sports market.
And that external perspective that someone might provide when you're in the gist of things or immersed in your project is very valuable, especially if it comes from someone who has experience in the field. Mateusz, in your case, I'm sure you can tell us about one of the biggest challenges you encountered during this design process and the commercialization process, aside from, of course, funding, which is always a challenge for new enterprises.
So for sure, big issue was to miniaturization. The size of the sensor is really important because the technology infrared light was known for many years, but it was mainly used in the medical industry using devices of the size of the small computer, let's say. So it was a big issue for us, and it takes us more than 2 years to go from the size of small computer to go to the size of small watch that actually the current version look like. And this was the big issue, just to make a sensor so small like it is right now, but with the same accuracy of the measurements. Yeah, so it was the big issue. Another smaller issue, but also really important, was that for example, the light was shining out through the case, and we've been had to test many materials to choose the most effective one. So it was many smaller issue that we need to solve, but we already did it.
So you're involving quite a few actors in the feedback process, and that's why you've managed to come up with what Qlac and the Qlac measurement device is what now. I know, Anton, that you were dying to go into this section, which is the feedback one. How have you involved the community and the end users in this ideation process, aside from this external perspective that you got to maybe open up, let's say, the array of products that you offer into the sports sector? What other feedback have you been receiving that has made Onalabs what it is today?
So we got the feedback in two different ways. From one side, we have relationships with a lot of very renowned professionals in the sports sector, so that they are the first ones to help us conceptualize how we need to develop the technology and help us understand how we can add value to their sport, because they are the first ones that they are going to use it. So we needed to be sure before starting and creating a specific product for sports sector that everything was correct and it added value to the customers. And then we also had feedback. This is in a later phase, no, at the final part of the product developing, and it's more about more normal users. When I say normal users, it's not as much knowledge as maybe a medicine sports doctor or I don't know, many people that are professionals and have a lot of knowledge in the sector. It's more about normal people that do sports every day, and to help us understand that even if we have a good product, we need it to be easy to use for the users. So this is where this second phase of the feedback entered, that we were asking for the usability, for the insights that they were getting, if it helped them to improve their performance. So this is what we are actually doing also, and with the help of ARI, Andorra Research and Innovation, that we've been in contact with different athletes from the Sports Federation of Andorra, and they are helping us in this way.
I'm sure, Lucas, that you have something similar to offer, or some similar experiences to offer, where end users might have played a pivotal role in shaping the final product or the product that you have right now.
Yeah, totally. Actually, as we are a B2B business, at the beginning we listen the helmet brands feedback. They actually knows very good their communities, their customers, so they really just give us their feedback, which is so valuable for us. But for the algorithm itself, it's really important to get, as I was saying in the beginning, largest samples or largest data as possible. No, so have that collaboration with that beta testers that really Ari allows us to meet and to get some pilot tests there in Andorra. It really helps us.
It definitely should. So after taking it to the top, we have to slide down. So this is where the slalom section comes in. It's much more quick and fun than walking up, but it's also well deserved. So first off, I'd like to start with a really easy question. Anton, cycling, snow sports, or mountain sports?
Mountain sports.
How about you, Lucas?
I go with cycling, but I really love also mountain or snow sports.
And what about you, Mateusz?
Cycling in mountains is wonderful.
What VIP sports seats would you dream of being in, Anton?
And F1.
Lucas?
I'm really not in sports.
And what about you, Mateusz?
For me, football is always my goal, and always I want to be involved in this industry as much as possible.
And any VIP team, especially that you'd like to be sitting in while watching the match?
Real Madrid from childhood.
A good choice. What is an unpopular achievement of yours, Anton? It can be sporting, enterprise-wise, or even personal.
Talk to sporting because I was always a sportsman, so it is failing an open goal in the last minute to win a match. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. And Lucas?
Well, actually, no one comes to me, but just in Evix, I will say, and it's not so popular to say that, but really COVID has the bicycle industry to grow a lot, and it really opens a window to us.
So it was COVID's achievement to open up the cycling industry and make people go outside more in a way and appreciate nature and the outdoors more. And what about you, Mateusz?
Okay, so for me, Qlac is the clue of my life because my life is always related to the sports, to running my own business. So Qlac is the clue of this what I've done for the last years.
Before we part ways, I'd like you to think of all the aspiring innovators out there that are at the beginning stages of where you're at right now. So Mateusz, what's one tip you would give to all aspiring innovators looking to embark on their ideation journey within the sports industry in Andorra?
I think that following your passion, because if you follow your passion, that you are able to be really focused on this what you do, that you are able to work as much as is necessary to work, and it's much easier to live if you work. If you work at least close to your passion. Yes, I mean that every day is different, and it's always something to solve, some problem to solve, even if you are in sport industry. But it's for sure much easier to develop your business if it's highly related to your passion.
Thank you very much, Mateusz. How about you, Lucas? What is one thing you would say to aspiring innovators?
Well, I don't have the clue. That's important to say that, but I will suggest not taking anything so personal. No, so you need to work hard, as Matthews say, and just give all your passion there. But there is always good and bad news, and you really don't need to take it really personal, because that don't allow you to focus on the real world.
It makes sense. Don't take it personally. And Anton, how about yourself? What is your tip?
So I think it would be that it is important when you're innovating to to be sure that you are adding value to a sector or to a commodity, and that you are not converting into one more technology among the thousand that there are on the market. And yes, I would say that to speak with many people from the sector, to learn from them, and to ask them if it really makes sense to develop what you are thinking about, or that it would be, as I said, one other technology among the thousands.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your contributions. It has been a really insightful episode. So to close it off, for aspiring innovators, work close to your passion. Don't take it too personally. Add real value and ask questions when needed. Thank you very much for joining us in this Taking It to the Top podcast. Hope you've had a good time. We have, and see you very soon for our second episode.